All right, welcome everybody. Haven't had many of these videos, but I'm going to get started a little bit with exploring quadratic and graphs. You are going to be starting this on Monday, but I want to go through some things here real quick so that when the time comes, you're ready to roll. So our original equation up here is y equals x squared. So now we're not going to be talking about linear equations anymore. We're going to be talking about curved equations, and we're going to start by going over here to like this t table for an input-output table. So we're going to take each x value, put it in here, square it, and then get my y value, which some of you can probably do pretty quickly. So if we take this first value of -2, put it in here, and then go -2 squared. You gotta be careful on your calculators because some of your calculators will give you the wrong number. You have to think to yourself, what does squared mean? Squared means times itself. So it's -2 times -2, which is +4. Some of your calculators might actually say it's -4, and that's wrong because squaring negative times negative is positive. Then we put in -1, so we have squared, so -1 times -1 is +1. Then we put in 0, and 0 times 0 is 0. And then we put in 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. And then we put in 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. And then we plot these points. So we're going to start with this one right here, 0, 0. We're going to go ahead and plot it right there. And then we're going to go and going to do the second one right here. And the x is -1, the y is +1. So I'm going to be going over 1 and up 1. Just quick refresher on graphing, right there. All right, and then I'm going to do the other point here, -2. So it's going to be 1, 2 over, and then up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and plot that point. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, and what you'll see here is it's not a straight line. And if I try to connect it with a straight line, you can't, but it's a curved line. Sorry about that, dog in the background here, I'm whining. So there we go. And it is called a parabola. All right, and that's the result of a quadratic equation. Now, my graph isn't great because it should go directly through this origin, and the graph is symmetric. So if I took this and I folded it on this axis, this side would lay completely on top of that side. So it's exact same on either side. So once I find the middle point, whatever I graph on one side will be identical on the other side. All right, and this point right here is called the vertex. The vertex is that center point of the graph. So let's do another one. Y equals -x squared. So now when I'm doing this, I'm going to have a negative, and I'm going to put the x's in, -2 times -2. Now that negative is out in front. It's not inside the square. It's outside of the squaring. So I'm going to square the number first. -2 times -2. -2 times -2 is +4, but then the negative is outside, so now it's -4. I know it's a lot of negatives to keep track of, but that's why I'm doing it to kind of keep track. So -1 squared, remember order of operations, and what you can think of, it's like having a -1 out in front times. So PERMDAS, we do exponents before we do multiplying. So exponents first, -1 squared is 1, times -1 is -1. 0 times -1 is 0. 1 squared is 1, times -1 is 1. 2 squared, sorry, -1, because it's multiplying it by -1. And then 2 squared is 4, times -1 is -4. All right, I'm going to plot those points. 0, 0, -1, -1, -2, -4, 1, 1, -1, I mean, and then 2, -4. Going to connect those dots. I missed that one completely. About like that. All right, we can see the vertex right here. 0, 0 is that point where it transitions from the graph, in this case, going up and then coming down. And if you look at the last graph to this graph, the other one opened up, this one opened down, and you're going to discover how you know that just by looking at an equation. This is going to get a little bit more of the complicated aspect here quick, but I'm going to walk you through it as quick as I can. And you can obviously hit pause and go back and watch. When we've done this, we've talked about a quadratic being in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, if we haven't talked about it, I apologize, but that's how it is. A is the number in front of the x squared. So in this case, the number in front of the x squared, my a is -1. The number in front of the x value is b, so in this case, b is 4. And then c is the last number, and the original equation is supposed to be positive, so in this case, since it's a minus 5, my c is negative 5. This equation over here tells me the axis of symmetry. So what that means is that is where the vertex is on the axis of symmetry. So if I can find the axis of symmetry, then I know where the vertex is. So I'm going to take those numbers and I'm going to plug them in. So my equation is x equals negative b over 2a. And then say, okay, well, here's the b. I'm going to put it in there, and it's going to be negative, and then I put in the 4 over 2 times a. A is negative 1. So that's x is going to equal negative 4 over negative 2, and then I reduce, and that's positive 2. So that means on my graph, x equals 2 is so this is the x coordinate of the vertex. How do I find the y coordinate? I plug it back in to the function, and I put it in for x. Now, f of x is another way of writing y. We just say f of x is a function of x. You can use them interchangeably for the most part, but I'm going to get in the habit of starting using f of x more than y. And so now I'm going to find what's called f of 2, which means I'm going to put 2 in place of wherever the x's are. So I'm going to have negative, and then x squared, so it's going to be 2 squared, plus 4 times 2 minus 5. And that's negative 4 plus 8 minus 5. So this then equals negative 1. So that is the y coordinate of my vertex, which means right here at 2, negative 1, that's the vertex. So what I'm going to do then is, since that's my middle value, then I'm going to go numbers up and numbers down. So if I plug those into my f of x equation, and I like to start with 0, because if you put in 0 right away, so the equation is f of x equals negative x squared plus 4x minus 5. If I put 0 into that, I'm going to have 0 plus 0, so it's going to be negative 5. So this is negative 5, and it's symmetric, which means this one's negative 5. And I got to put in the other one. So if I put in 1 into this equation, so 1 squared is 1, so negative 1 plus 4 is 3. 3 minus 5 is negative 2, so this is negative 2, which means this one's negative 2. Then I plot the points. So if I go over to 1, I go down to negative 2. And then, I meant to make that a red dot. And I realized that I did my graph. I'm going to have to make it longer down there in order to get down to further points. And then at 1, I'm also at negative 2. And then at 2, I'm at negative 5. Oh, and I just plotted those in the wrong spot, if you're paying attention. So take that back. So at 2, negative 1. So at 3, I'm at negative 2. And I'm at 1, I'm at negative 2. At 0, I'm at negative 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. And at 4, I'm at negative 5. And I'm going to have this parabola here. Boom. And it's because I used the formula for finding the axis of symmetry, then plugged that back in to find my y, and then that tells me where the vertex is, and that will be the middle of my t-table. So I'm not going to make a t-table until I know what the vertex is. So that sums up where I want to get you started with. That gets you through quite a bit of where this packet is going to get going to. Best of luck. We'll see you soon.